Breaking right now, it is the beginning of the end of the mainstream media in the United Kingdom, and I, for one, are celebrating. ITV became woke ITV over the past 5 years since my departure from the channel after 10 years in 2019. Woke ITV has shoved a whole load of philosophies down our throat which we don't agree with, and surprise, surprise, their ratings have literally halved. Well, today, the bloodbath came. Lorraine and Loose Women effectively axed. They will only broadcast now for a small period of the year. Lorraine will only be a 30-minute show. Good Morning Britain, subsumed into ITV News. It will no longer have its own staff, and it will effectively be run by Tom Bradby's outfit out of Gray's Inn Road. And this is just the beginning. Look, there were tears today. 312 staff, I'm told, put at risk of redundancy. And while no one wants to see anyone lose their job, unfortunately, woke ITV has had this coming for a very, very long time, but they haven't listened. And from my experience working at that company over a long period of time, the bosses have a disdain of their audience. They look down on the working classes. They even use nicknames sometimes to talk about the people who watch their shows. And thank God, with the independent media space, there is now an alternative to the gatekeepers at ITV constantly trying to tell us what to think. But look, I've got some fascinating insight into what's really gone on at woke ITV with these decisions. Because, as you know, I was there for a very long time. I know the personalities involved. And you know, sometimes they say, be good to the people on the way up. Because when you're on the way down, those people will remember if you treated them nicely or not. And for Lorraine Kelly, that's just become a comment that she should have listened to. ITV's new boss of news, and the person who is behind this absolute bloodbath, is a guy called Andrew Dagnall, who used to run ITV News and has since joined ITV Daytime. Now, when I was working with Lorraine Kelly all of those years ago, and I was friends with both of these characters, obviously, since my cancellation, they didn't want a bar of me. That's to be expected from people who work at woke ITV. But I remember a story of something that went down between Lorraine and Andrew Dagnall, where he pledged that he would seek revenge on Lorraine Kelly and one day ruin her career. Today, he put that into practice. It was when Lorraine was interviewing Amanda Knox, you know, the American woman who was falsely accused of the murder of Meredith Kercher. And this was quite a big exclusive at the time. And Andrew Dagnall had the cheek. He had the cheek to say to Lorraine, can you please just speak a little bit slowly when you're interviewing Amanda Knox, because I'm very worried that she's not going to understand your broad Scottish accent. Well, Lorraine, she hit the roof. She was absolutely furious and ropeable. How dare this young producer tell me, this veteran who's been interviewing people for decades with my broad Scottish accent, to speak slowly? She was absolutely furious about it. And a feud between the pair ensued over many years. Well, of course, when Andrew Dagnall got this new job at ITV, what was the first decision he made? To axe Lorraine Kelly for 22 weeks of the year, and to slash her show from 60 minutes to 30 minutes, and at the same time get rid of her production team altogether. So there is a lesson in that, isn't there? Let me bring in my superstar panel now, Ezra Levant. He is the boss of Rebel News, and Kathy Gingell of Conservative Women, who, Kathy, look, I guess we should explain to people, shouldn't we? You have a long heritage, really, via your late great hubby.
You got to understand, I was working with Lorraine Kelly in the early 1980s. I hate to do this to her, but I don't mind doing it to myself. And when I first met her, she was a TVAM reporter, Scottish reporter for TVAM, and with her broad Scottish accent, she was bravely reporting off North Sea oil rigs and wherever the weather was the worst in Scotland. And the reason that my late husband, Bruce Gingell, who was the boss of TVAM then,
Yes.
gave
And a
her
TV legend, it has to be put.
the reason he gave her the front woman top job post Anne Diamond was because he said any woman who can report like that on a North Sea oil rig with a force God knows what gale blowing her hair over her face and not be discombobulated and get it all out and tell us what's happening. He said she deserves the top spot. And he's been proved right. I mean, she's had a fantastic career. I have to admit, I haven't watched Loose Women. It's not my cup of tea. ITV's been on the out, I agree with you, for a long time. I think all these shows are they've outlived their time in the modern age. But nobody can say that she hasn't had a terrific career and she's not a very talented broadcaster.
No, and you could argue that this is brutal treatment of someone who has given decades working for a company like Woke ITV. Look, I think one of the big issues was the pandemic because Woke ITV became such a malevolent force in terms of driving lockdowns for such a long time. But then it was also actually to do with woke politics. And Ezra, I mean, as I say, I've got personal experience with this. When I left ITV in 2019, one of the reasons was because I was told that I was unable to report honestly on Meghan Markle, which is what I was doing at the time. I was just reporting what was going on right within the royal family, but there was this huge amount of very, very nasty stuff that was going on. And I reported honestly. But Tom Bradby, who's effectively the editor of ITV News, even though he's only the presenter, is very good friends with Prince Harry and Meghan, and he was trying to control the output. So we saw that Piers Morgan got axed after that infamous Oprah Winfrey interview between Meghan and Harry, where Piers Morgan said, "I don't believe a word that this woman is saying." So they were going down this woke path, and then in recent years, Ezra, it's happened on steroids. So, for example, look at this. There's a Loose Women panel. Now, remembering in the United Kingdom, I think we're something like, 4% black as a wide population. There's a Loose Women panel of all black female panelists. But, Ezra, it's an absolute outrage if there is a panel of all white women. And the audience don't like this type of identity politics being shoved down their throat. But first, I never recommend anything on this show unless I truly believe in it. Today, I've got something absolutely game-changing for you. Have you ever stopped to think about how crucial comfort is down there? Well, let me tell you, today's Outspoken proudly sponsored by Sheath Underwear, the revolutionary brand shaking up men's comfort across the globe. And here's what makes Sheath even better. It was founded by a US Army veteran, Robert Patton, while he was serving in Iraq back in 2007. So that's right, this isn't just any underwear brand, it was designed for the toughest conditions imaginable. Patton was battling relentless heat and discomfort in full combat gear, and he thought there has to be a better way, so he created it. And let's be honest, traditional underwear just doesn't cut it anymore. Sheath's innovative dual pouch design ensures your comfort all day long, keeping things separate, cool, and fresh. Imagine your essentials being comfortably cradled away from unwanted friction and heat. Trust me, it is genuinely transformative. I've tested it at the gym, on long days at work, even just relaxing at home. And I'm telling you, once you've experienced Sheath, there's simply no going back. They're stylish, they're supportive, and they deliver unmatched comfort. It's like upgrading from economy to first class, but for your underwear. Right now, I'm offering you an exclusive 20% discount at www.sheath.com. Yes, that's 20% off your entire order when you use my special promo code Outspoken at checkout. So what are you waiting for? Sheath, by the way, ladies, also the perfect present for your husband, your boyfriend, your son, your brother, or hard to buy for best mate. And while you are there, check this out. There are female versions available too, which you can see here alongside the brilliant boss of the UFC, because Sheath is the first official underwear of that brilliant sport. So click the link below, enter Outspoken at checkout, go to www.sheath.com and thank me later when you're feeling comfortable, confident, and ready to tackle anything your day throws at you. Sheath underwear, redefine comfort one pair at a time. But now, back to the show.
I don't watch these shows. I live in Canada. Our news is different. I do follow many of these different Twitter accounts, though. But the old media is giving way to the new, and I I think that theoretically everyone could be a journalist. I mean, not everyone's going to be a good journalist or a thoughtful one or a clever one or a popular one. But these days, news gathering is disaggregated. It's diffused, and I think that makes for better. I think that's more democratic. I love citizen journalists, and I'm excited to see how well your show's doing, Dan.
Thank you so much. Well, look, I am also excited, to be honest, because Kathy, you know how ITV has operated for so many years, right? It's like the big US broadcasters which are struggling, CBS, NBC, ABC, because they have hundreds and hundreds of staff. And these staff members are gatekeepers. They're people who write scripts, who control what presenters are going to say. In this independent space, I don't have any of that. I don't need any of that. I don't want any of that. When I used to be presenting a 10-minute segment on the Lorraine Kelly show, there'd be about 6 producers attempting to script and control every single word that I said. I think people are sick of that type of broadcasting. They don't want it anymore. They've absolutely embraced the independent media revolution. They have absolutely embraced major independent broadcasters in the US like Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson, who I would argue are more influential, certainly in the case of Tucker and Megyn, more influential outside of Fox News than they were within it. And Ezra, thank you for saying so, and I will just blow my own trumpet for one moment. Outspoken, just last week, in the first ever Top 100 podcast chart that YouTube has put together, and by the way, this is just with American audiences, so only with American audiences. Joe Rogan Experience, as you would expect, is number 1, but Outspoken was in there as well, in the top 100. So Kathy, I guess the point being, right, if you look at where people are watching their content now, so much of it is online, on YouTube, on X. People can link it up to their TVs. And what's so fascinating, Kathy, is no one wants to watch ITV on YouTube. No one's watching the ITV podcasts or the LBC podcasts.
But what's really distressing, I mean, first of all, it's astonishing that they failed to adapt to what they knew from the late 90s was going to be a massive fragmentation of the media market, with everyone having a laptop, then later on everybody having the iPhones, and there was going to be people who knew there was going to be this great fragmentation of communication across a much broader span of media. The mainstream broadcasters like BBC, ITV, Sky, they simply haven't adapted because they've had a monopoly over airtime. And this is what's so wrong. And in the case of the BBC, they have a monopoly with our license fee. Now, we are all still, I haven't watched any of these networks for as long as I haven't had a license fee, which is several years now. I did that to vote with my feet against this. But so in a way, what the real thing, congratulations for you too for beating up through this. There's really a ceiling to crack through on this if you're in social media and being independent as a journalist like you are, or like Ezra is, because the money is still being held by those major broadcasters. And as you say, even though there's a declining audience, they are the gatekeepers. So what you would always get, when I worked on Weekend World on ITV years ago, the big thing was that the Weekend World programme was designed to get the headline in the Times the next morning, and it invariably did. Brian Walden's show on Monday morning. So even then there was this sort of how do you call it, embrace between politics and the media, which of course the Joe Rogans, Tucker Carlsons, and you have chucked up into the air, thankfully. But it's still got quite a grip, and it's still quite a battle to break it. And people have got to stop paying their license fee and not.
Exactly.
And
And as I'm always saying, Kathy, stop paying your license fee, put that money and support your favorite independent journalist, support Conservative Women, support Rebel News. If you want to support Outspoken, that's great too. I've been very lucky that my launch has coincided with the second MAGA revolution, which, thank God, and I genuinely say thank God for Donald Trump every day, because what it's meant is that he has been able to crack down on what was becoming the most shocking form of censorship on big tech. I mean, it was impossible. I mean, I was censored all the time over the pandemic for such simple things, even like talking about the lab leak, for example. And Dan Bongino, who is now second in command at the FBI, for God's sake, he wasn't just demonetized, he was actually removed by Google altogether for simply saying that masks did not work. So look, Ezra, it's not to say that there are not challenges in the independent space, but as it stands, I think Trump has done a great thing, because all of a sudden big tech does seem to be embracing free speech. And also that is really sensible, because YouTube is getting so much of the advertising money now, Ezra, because they're not just servicing 50% of the population like the legacy media is, the Democrats in the US, they're servicing everyone.
Yeah, you know what? Mark Zuckerberg had a kind of a conversion.
It's a come to mama moment, a come to Trump moment.
And he said he was going to lay off 40,000 fact checkers, censors. I didn't know they had 40,000 censors at Facebook. That's insane to me. And they were going to make certain changes about particular issues that you just described. And he said in his statement, Mark Zuckerberg, this is my favorite part. He said he's going to do that in America, but also around the world with the help of the State Department. He was very clear that he wanted to have this free speech as a global theme for Facebook, but he needed Donald Trump's help for that. And think about it. These multinational tech companies, whenever they operate in a country, they have to follow that country's laws. So, for example, Pakistan all the time censors tweets or whatever in that country that touch on religious or cultural things. And if Twitter doesn't like it, if Facebook doesn't like it, they don't have to operate there. But that puts Facebook at a disadvantage to every, 200 countries in the world, unless America is there to say, whoa, Brazil, why are you censoring Twitter? Why are you France? Why are you censoring? So if Donald Trump and JD Vance and Marco Rubio help, this can be a blessing to the whole world. Only America has the First Amendment, and the rest of us suffer by the lack of it. But if Trump can push that freedom out through the veins of the internet by using Twitter and Facebook, etc., he can make all of us a little bit freer. And of course, Elon Musk deserves the most credit for it. Twitter not only uses free speech, but I think Dan, that they have an anti-retaliation force at Twitter, that if anyone's fired or gets in trouble for tweets, Twitter will help them. It's not a secret. I'm not revealing anything to tell you that Tommy Robinson's 2 recent cases were paid for by Elon Musk's Twitter.
Good on him. And also, X and its government affairs department did also come out in support of Lucy Connolly, which really warmed my heart, because obviously Elon Musk has been much more quiet on these things while he's been running Doge and part of the US administration. I actually think, and there are signs of this today, by the way, that Elon Musk is increasingly backing away from his formal role in the administration. I actually think in some ways Elon Musk is a more powerful force outside government. Do you know what I mean? Really able to call out and bring attention to these cases without being worried.
Yeah. Well, I just hope that he takes on the online safety people, Ofcom in this country, because this is an absolute disaster in the country for free speech. And again, this is the censorship's very government driven. And I think in a way, even under the sort of Biden administration, it was people thought Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all these things were the origin of the censorship. Well, it to a large extent that they were running at the command. It's extraordinary, running at the command of governments. The UK government was going over advising on censorship with America. And we MPs were pushing for this, of all political parties, pushing for our online safety bill. Now Ofcom is threatening to not allow MPs to be presenters. And you know, this would be seen as a direct attack on Farage, I imagine, to stop him broadcasting in the next few years to run up the next election.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
We've got these massive battles to fight.
There are, and this is why it was so frustrating, Kathy, and an argument for another day, but we've had it many times, that GB News was so wrong for capitulating to the off-communist mob immediately when it came to Mark Stein, then myself, then Lawrence Fox. But look, what a fabulous superstar panel on a big day of breaking news. Ezra Levant, love your work, love everything Rebel News does, but especially love that you just decided to be at the scene today. It's so good to have you in the United Kingdom. Kathy Gingell, you know I love everything that you do at Conservative Woman. You are a true freedom fighter and always brilliant to have you on Outspoken too. So thank you both so much. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.